Welcome, friends, to another gentle journey into the depths of Minecraft's mysteries. Tonight, we descend into the ancient strongholds, those hidden fortresses buried far beneath the surface, waiting in the darkness to be discovered. Strongholds are places of stone corridors and forgotten rooms, where silence hangs heavy and the air feels thick with age. They guard the end portal, the gateway to Minecraft's final dimension, making them essential to every player's journey. Yet they are more than mere waypoints. They are labyrinths, puzzles, and monuments to a civilization that once existed and vanished, leaving only these cold halls behind. As we explore 100 facts about strongholds, let each detail wash over you softly, carrying you toward rest. If you enjoy these bedtime explorations, please consider subscribing and tell me, where are you listening from tonight as you settle in and drift away? Strongholds were added to Minecraft in beta version 1.8, the Adventure Update, released in September of 2011. This update transformed Minecraft significantly, introducing experience points, new biomes, villages, and the end dimension itself. Before Strongholds existed, there was no end, no ender dragon, no structured goal beyond survival and building. The addition of Strongholds created a sense of progression and purpose, giving players a destination to seek and a challenge to overcome. These structures represented Minecraft's evolution from pure sandbox to a game with objectives and discoveries. The moment players first learned about Strongholds, the game gained depth, mystery, and a reason to venture deep underground with purpose rather than just mining for resources. Strongholds generate underground in the overworld, typically at varying depths but often deep beneath the surface. They can be found anywhere from just below sea level to far down near bedrock, though most commonly they rest in the middle layers of the underground. The depth at which a stronghold generates is somewhat random, meaning players might find one relatively close to the surface or have to dig through hundreds of blocks of stone to reach it. This variability adds to the challenge and excitement of the search. When players finally break through into a stronghold corridor after hours of searching, the relief and anticipation are immense. The depth of strongholds reinforces their ancient quality, as though they were built in a different age and have been buried by time and geological change. Every Minecraft world generates with multiple strongholds, ensuring that players have several opportunities to find one. In Java Edition, each world contains 128 strongholds arranged in rings, radiating outward from the world's spawn point. The first ring contains 3 strongholds, the second ring 6, the third ring 10, and so on, with each ring containing more strongholds than the last. The first stronghold can be found relatively close to spawn, typically within a few thousand blocks, while the furthest strongholds can be millions of blocks away. In Bedrock Edition, the generation is different, with strongholds being more limited in number and sometimes harder to locate. This difference between versions creates slightly different experiences, though the core challenge of finding and exploring strongholds remains the same across platforms. Finding a stronghold requires Eyes of Ender, items crafted from ender pearls and blaze powder. Eyes of Ender are consumed when thrown, with a chance to break each time they are used. When thrown into the air, an Eye of Ender floats upward and drifts in the direction of the nearest stronghold portal room. Players follow the trajectory, throwing eyes repeatedly and adjusting their path as they travel. The eye's movement is hypnotic, floating gently before falling back to the ground or vanishing in a puff of particles. As players get closer to the stronghold, the eyes begin to dive downward, indicating that the portal room is directly below. This mechanic of following Eyes of Ender creates a treasure hunt, a journey guided by magical items that point the way to ancient ruins. Ender pearls are obtained by killing Endermen, the tall, black mobs that teleport and become hostile when looked at directly. Endermen spawn in the overworld at night, in the Nether, and abundantly in the End. Collecting enough Ender pearls to craft the eyes needed for finding a stronghold and activating the portal can take significant time. Players often build Enderman farms or hunt them in the overworld, enduring the risk of their teleporting attacks. The connection between Endermen, Ender pearls, and strongholds suggests a deeper lore, as though these creatures and structures are linked by some ancient relationship. The purple particles that Endermen emit and the green particles of Eyes of Ender create a visual thread connecting these elements. Blaze powder, the other component of Eyes of Ender, comes from blaze rods dropped by blazes in nether fortresses. This means that finding a stronghold requires players to have already conquered both the overworld's surface dangers and the nether's hellish environment. The progression is deliberate. Survive the surface, venture into the nether, gather blaze rods, hunt Endermen, craft Eyes of Ender, and finally locate the stronghold. Each step builds on the last, creating a natural flow of challenges that prepare players for the end. The need for both nether and overworld resources ties the dimensions together, making strongholds the bridge between worlds. Eyes of Ender have a small chance to break each time they are thrown, disappearing in a burst of particles and leaving the player with one fewer eye. This consumption rate means players must gather more eyes than the minimum required, accounting for losses during the search. Most players craft 15 to 20 Eyes of Ender to ensure they have enough to both find the stronghold and activate the portal. The tension of watching an eye break, especially when far from home without resources to craft more, adds stakes to the journey. Players learn to throw eyes sparingly once they are close, measuring their remaining supply against the distance yet to travel. The Stronghold's portal room is the heart of the structure, a specific room containing the end portal frame. This room is the target of the Eyes of Ender, the destination they point toward. The portal room is distinct in design, featuring a staircase leading down to a platform surrounded by lava. The end portal frame sits in the center, a ring of 12 frame blocks arranged in a square with missing corners. Above the portal, there is often a spawner, usually containing silverfish, adding danger to the discovery. The portal room's design is iconic, instantly recognizable to any player who has found one. The combination of the stone brick architecture, the warm glow of lava, and the empty portal frame creates a sense of anticipation and finality. The end portal frame consists of 12 blocks arranged in a 3x3 square with the corners removed. Each frame block can hold an Eye of Ender, and the portal activates only when all 12 frames are filled. The frames have a directionality, meaning they must face inward toward the center of the portal. Players cannot craft end portal frames in survival mode. They exist only as part of the stronghold generation. This limitation makes the portal room precious and irreplaceable. If a player somehow destroys the portal or fails to find the stronghold, they must locate another stronghold or create a new world. The permanence of portal frames reinforces the idea that strongholds are ancient and special, not something players can replicate or replace. When a stronghold generates, some of the end portal frames may already contain Eyes of Ender. The number varies randomly, with each frame having a 10% chance of generating with an eye already placed. This means that in rare cases, a portal might generate fully activated, though the probability is extremely low. Most portals have 0 to 3 eyes already in place, requiring the player to add the remaining eyes. The pre-placed eyes are a small mercy, reducing the total number of eyes needed. The randomness of this generation creates variance in each playthrough, making some stronghold discoveries easier than others. Finding a portal with many eyes already placed feels like good fortune, a gift from the world generation. Activating the end portal creates one of Minecraft's most dramatic visual effects. When the 12th eye of Ender is placed, the interior of the portal frame fills with a dark, starry void. The surface resembles space, with tiny white specks that resemble stars drifting slowly. The portal emits ambient sounds, deep and echoing, suggesting vast emptiness beyond. Standing near an active end portal creates a sense of awe and trepidation, as players know that stepping through will take them to the end dimension and the Ender Dragon fight. The portal is a threshold, a point of no return in many ways, and its activation marks the beginning of the game's climax. The dark beauty of the portal's surface invites and warns simultaneously, beautiful and ominous. Strongholds are constructed primarily from stone bricks, a gray block with a clean-cut appearance. Stone bricks give strongholds their fortress-like quality, suggesting that they were built with purpose and skill. The uniformity of stone bricks throughout the structure creates a cohesive aesthetic. Every room and corridor clearly part of the same construction. Stone bricks can be mined and used by players in their own builds, making strongholds a source of building materials as well as exploration. The texture of stone bricks, with subtle cracks and variations, gives them a sense of age without being overly weathered. They appear solid and enduring, structures built to last through centuries buried underground. In addition to regular stone bricks, strongholds contain cracked stone bricks and mossy stone bricks, adding visual variety and a sense of decay. Cracked stone bricks suggest damage over time, blocks that have fractured but not broken. Mossy stone bricks show nature's slow reclamation, moss growing in the darkness and moisture of the underground. These variants are scattered throughout strongholds, breaking up the monotony of gray stone and suggesting age. The presence of cracked and mossy bricks tells a story without words, a narrative of time passing and structures slowly succumbing to the environment. Players often harvest these variant bricks for their own builds, valuing them for their aesthetic and rarity. Stronghold corridors are the connecting passages between rooms, long hallways that twist and turn through the underground. Corridors are typically 5 blocks wide and lined with stone bricks. They often feature arches, pillars, and doorways leading to rooms or other corridors. The layout of corridors is maze-like, creating confusion and requiring careful navigation. Players can easily get lost in strongholds, turning down one corridor only to find themselves back where they started or in a completely new section. The repetitive architecture makes it difficult to create mental maps, and the lack of natural landmarks means players must place torches or blocks to mark their path. The maze-like quality of stronghold corridors adds tension and challenge, transforming exploration into a test of patience and spatial awareness. Doorways in strongholds come in several types, including open arches, wooden doors, and iron doors. Open arches are the most common, simple passages without barriers. Wooden doors provide minimal security, easily opened by players and some mobs. Iron doors are more secure, requiring buttons or levers to open. The presence of iron doors suggests that certain areas of the stronghold were meant to be restricted or protected, though from what or whom is unclear. The variety of doorways adds visual interest and creates moments of interaction, as players must decide whether to open doors or break through walls. Doorways represent transition, points where one space ends and another begins, and in strongholds, they are numerous and constantly reorienting the explorer. Iron doors in strongholds are often accompanied by stone buttons mounted on nearby walls. These buttons activate the doors, opening them temporarily before they swing shut again. The presence of functional mechanisms like buttons and iron doors shows that strongholds were once inhabited, built with security and access control in mind. The buttons still work after all this time, a testament to the durability of redstone mechanisms. Players can use these doors and buttons as intended, or they can break through walls if they prefer. The choice to interact with the stronghold systems or bypass them entirely is part of the exploration experience, allowing players to decide how they engage with the ancient structure. Strongholds contain several distinct room types, each with unique features and purposes. These rooms break up the monotony of corridors and provide loot, challenges, and visual variety. The most important room is the portal room, but strongholds also feature libraries, prison cells, storage rooms, altar rooms, and more. Each room type has specific generation rules and contents, making them identifiable once players become familiar with stronghold layouts. Discovering a new room type for the first time is exciting, a moment of curiosity as players explore and catalog the contents. The variety of rooms suggests that strongholds served multiple functions, not just as a home for the end portal, but as complete settlements or fortresses with living, storage, and ceremonial spaces. Libraries are among the most valuable rooms in strongholds, containing bookshelves filled with books. Libraries come in two sizes: small, single-level libraries and large two-story libraries with wooden planks forming a second floor. The walls of libraries are lined with bookshelves, and there are often clusters of bookshelves in the center of the room. Wooden fences create railings on the upper level of large libraries, adding architectural detail. Libraries can contain chests with loot, though not all libraries have chests. The presence of so many bookshelves makes libraries a prime location for gathering books for enchanting. A single library can provide dozens of bookshelves, enough to fully power multiple enchantment tables. The sight of a library, with its warm wood and shelves of books, feels scholarly and peaceful, a quiet place of knowledge in the depths. Bookshelves in stronghold libraries can be broken to obtain books, with each bookshelf dropping 3 books. These books can be used to craft more bookshelves or for other purposes. The abundance of books in libraries makes them a renewable source of paper and leather, as books can be broken down into their components. Players often strip libraries of their bookshelves, carrying the books and wood back to their bases. The act of dismantling a library feels slightly melancholic, as though erasing the last traces of the civilization that built these halls. Yet the resources are valuable, and in survival mode, practicality often outweighs sentimentality. The books themselves are blank, containing no text, leaving players to imagine what knowledge they might once have held. Chests in stronghold libraries can contain valuable loot, including enchanted books, paper, compasses, and other items. Enchanted books found in library chests sometimes have rare or high-level enchantments, making them highly desirable. The connection between libraries and enchanted books is thematic, suggesting that the stronghold's inhabitants valued knowledge and magic. Finding a powerful enchanted book in a library chest feels appropriate, a reward for exploration and a piece of the stronghold's legacy. The loot in strongholds is randomized, so each library offers a different treasure. This randomness keeps exploration fresh, as players never know exactly what they will find. Storage rooms in strongholds are small chambers containing a single chest. These rooms are plain, with stone brick walls and minimal decoration. The chest contains loot similar to other stronghold chests, including food, resources, and occasionally enchanted items. Storage rooms are easy to overlook, as they are not visually distinctive, but they offer additional opportunities for loot. The simplicity of storage rooms contrasts with the more elaborate library or altar rooms, suggesting they served a purely utilitarian function. The presence of storage rooms reinforces the idea that strongholds were lived in, places where supplies were kept and needed. Altar rooms are chambers featuring a raised platform or altar-like structure in the center. These rooms have a ceremonial appearance, with stairs leading up to the central area. The purpose of altar rooms is unclear, as they contain no chests or interactive elements by default. Some players interpret them as places of worship or ritual, while others see them as generic ceremonial spaces. The ambiguity adds to the mystery of strongholds, leaving room for interpretation and imagination. Altar rooms are less common than libraries or storage rooms, making their discovery feel special. The elevated platform and symmetrical design create a sense of importance, as though significant events once took place in these chambers. Prison cells, sometimes called jail cells, are small rooms with iron bars forming a cage-like structure. These rooms suggest that the stronghold's inhabitants imprisoned others, though whether they held criminals, enemies, or something else is unknown. The iron bars create a somber atmosphere, and the cramped size of the cells adds to the feeling of confinement. Prison cells rarely contain loot, making them more atmospheric than functional. The existence of these cells raises questions about the society that built strongholds, suggesting conflict, justice systems, or darker purposes. Walking past a prison cell evokes discomfort, a reminder that these halls once witnessed suffering or punishment. Fountain rooms contain a small pool of water in the center, often with stone brick structures around it. The water in fountain rooms is purely decorative, serving no mechanical purpose. The presence of fountains suggests that strongholds had communal or aesthetic spaces, places where inhabitants might have gathered. The still water reflects torchlight, creating a peaceful visual. Fountain rooms are uncommon, making them a pleasant surprise during exploration. The sound of water, if disturbed, adds to the ambiance. Fountains represent a softer side of strongholds, evidence that those who built them valued beauty alongside function. Strongholds generate with natural openings and dead ends, where corridors terminate abruptly at stone or dirt. These dead ends occur when the stronghold generation encounters natural cave systems, ravines, or simply reaches the edge of its defined structure. Dead ends can be frustrating for players trying to navigate, as they must backtrack and find alternative routes. However, they also add realism, as though the stronghold was built into existing underground spaces and adapted to the terrain. The presence of exposed stone or dirt at dead ends reminds players that strongholds are integrated into the world, not separate from it. Breaking through a dead-end wall sometimes reveals hidden rooms or shortcuts, rewarding curiosity and persistence. Strongholds often intersect with natural cave systems, mine shafts, and ravines, creating hybrid structures where artificial and natural merge. These intersections can be dramatic, with stronghold corridors opening into vast caverns or mine shaft tunnels cutting through library walls. The collision of structures creates visual interest and navigation challenges, as players must distinguish between stronghold architecture and natural cave formations. These intersections also add danger, as hostile mobs from caves can wander into stronghold corridors. The blending of natural and constructed spaces reinforces the age of strongholds, suggesting they have been underground so long that the world has grown around and through them. Silverfish are small, hostile mobs closely associated with strongholds. They hide inside special blocks called infested blocks, which look identical to normal stone bricks, cobblestone, or stone. When an infested block is broken, the silverfish inside emerges and attacks. Silverfish deal minor damage but move quickly and call other nearby silverfish when attacked, potentially swarming the player. The presence of silverfish adds tension to stronghold exploration, as players never know which blocks might release these pests. The sound of silverfish emerging, a sharp hiss and skittering, is unsettling. Silverfish are fragile and die quickly, but in groups they can overwhelm unprepared players. Their association with strongholds is so strong that finding silverfish underground often indicates a stronghold is nearby. Infested stone bricks are indistinguishable from regular stone bricks visually, making them impossible to identify without breaking them or using other methods. The only reliable way to differentiate them is by mining speed, as infested blocks break instantly regardless of the tool used. Experienced players learn to mine cautiously in strongholds, watching for blocks that break too quickly. The hidden nature of silverfish creates paranoia, making every block a potential threat. This mechanic adds a layer of challenge to harvesting stone bricks from strongholds, as players must decide whether the risk of releasing silverfish is worth the resources. Infested blocks represent hidden danger, threats concealed within the familiar and trusted. Silverfish spawners are found in some stronghold rooms, particularly in portal rooms. These spawners continuously generate silverfish, creating a persistent threat. Unlike natural silverfish hidden in blocks, spawners produce an ongoing supply of enemies. Players often destroy spawners immediately to prevent being overwhelmed. The presence of spawners near the portal room adds danger to the final approach, ensuring that reaching the portal is not without risk. Some players leave spawners intact for farms or challenges, but most prioritize safety. Spawners represent active defense, as though the stronghold itself is trying to protect the portal from intruders. Strongholds are lit by torches placed on walls during generation, providing minimal illumination. However, the torches are sparse, and many corridors and rooms remain dark. This darkness creates an oppressive atmosphere, with shadows stretching long and visibility limited. Players must place additional torches to light their path and prevent mob spawning. The contrast between the dim, existing torches and the bright torches players add highlights the stronghold's abandonment. The original torches, still burning after all this time, suggest that strongholds have not been abandoned as long as they appear, or that Minecraft's torches burn eternally. The flickering light of torches in narrow corridors creates dancing shadows, making the stronghold feel alive with movement even when empty. Cobwebs generate in some stronghold corridors and rooms, particularly near libraries and storage areas. Cobwebs slow movement significantly, trapping players and making escape difficult if mobs are nearby. The presence of cobwebs adds to the abandoned, ancient atmosphere, suggesting that spiders or time have left their mark. Cobwebs can be harvested with shears or swords, and some players collect them for decoration or traps. Walking through cobwebs creates a sticky, frustrating experience, the player's movement reduced to a crawl. Cobwebs represent neglect and age, the stronghold slowly being claimed by nature and creatures. The generation algorithm for strongholds ensures they are spread across the world in rings, preventing clustering and ensuring accessibility. The first ring of strongholds is closest to spawn, with each subsequent ring farther out. Within each ring, strongholds are spaced evenly, creating a roughly circular distribution. This pattern means that players will almost always find a stronghold within reasonable traveling distance. The algorithmic placement reflects Minecraft's procedural generation philosophy, creating structure within randomness. Understanding the ring system helps players plan their searches, knowing roughly how far they need to travel. The mathematical precision of stronghold placement contrasts with their organic, maze-like interiors, a balance of order and chaos. In some worlds, strongholds generate partially or entirely within oceans, underground beneath the seafloor. These underwater strongholds present unique challenges, as players must navigate water and possibly fight drowned mobs while searching. Reaching an underwater stronghold requires potions, enchantments, or simply a lot of patience and doors for air pockets. The discovery that a stronghold is underwater can be disappointing or exciting, depending on the player's preparation and mindset. Underwater strongholds feel even more ancient and forgotten, buried not just in stone but beneath layers of water, isolated from the surface world. The muffled sounds and slow movement underwater add to the dreamlike quality of exploration. The size of strongholds varies significantly, with some sprawling across hundreds of blocks and others relatively compact. The generation algorithm creates a random number of corridors and rooms, branching and connecting until certain conditions are met. This variability means no two strongholds are identical, even though they share common room types and architecture. Large strongholds can take hours to fully explore, with countless rooms and dead ends. Small strongholds might be navigated in minutes. The unpredictability of size keeps stronghold exploration fresh, as players never know whether they are entering a modest ruin or a vast underground city. The mystery of a stronghold's extent adds to the tension, as players wonder how much farther they must search to find the portal room. Navigating a stronghold without getting lost requires strategy. Many players place torches on one side of corridors, creating a rule like torches on the right when entering means follow left side torches to exit. Others leave trails of cobblestone, wool, or other markers. Some players create maps or write down coordinates. Without a navigation system, strongholds are disorienting, their corridors and rooms blending together. The challenge of navigation is part of the experience, testing the player's spatial reasoning and memory. Successfully finding the portal room after navigating a complex stronghold feels like solving a puzzle, a triumph of persistence and method. Stairways in strongholds come in several forms, including straight staircases, spiral staircases, and ramps. These vertical connections allow the stronghold to span multiple levels, creating depth and complexity. Straight staircases are simple flights of stone brick stairs leading up or down between floors. Spiral staircases wind around central pillars, creating tight, circular ascents or descents. The presence of multiple levels adds to navigation challenges, as players must track not only their horizontal position, but also their depth. Climbing a spiral staircase in a stronghold creates a sense of ascending or descending through time, moving between layers of the ancient structure. The stairs are worn smooth in imagination, though the blocks show no such detail, and players can almost hear the footsteps of countless inhabitants who once traveled these paths. The vertical structure of strongholds means they can span from near bedrock to close to the surface, with some sections deeper than others. This layering creates opportunities for dramatic reveals, such as climbing stairs and emerging into a massive two-story library or descending into a deep chamber containing the portal room. The vertical variety prevents strongholds from feeling flat, adding architectural interest. Players must sometimes dig through walls or ceilings to progress, as not all vertical connections are maintained by stairs. The three-dimensional maze of strongholds challenges spatial thinking, requiring players to consider up and down as much as left and right. Wooden planks appear in strongholds as flooring in libraries and occasionally in other rooms. The warm brown of oak planks contrasts with the cold gray stone, creating visual warmth. The wood suggests that strongholds were meant to be comfortable, not just functional fortresses. Wooden floors in libraries make those rooms feel more inviting, places where inhabitants might have spent time reading and studying. The presence of wood also provides players with a renewable resource if needed, though harvesting planks from strongholds feels destructive. The combination of stone and wood creates a medieval aesthetic, reminiscent of castles and keeps from fantasy and history. Wooden doors in strongholds are simple oak doors, easily opened by both players and zombies. The vulnerability of wooden doors adds a touch of danger, as zombies on hard difficulty can break through them. Players exploring strongholds at night or in poorly lit areas might find zombies following them through wooden doors, creating chase sequences through the corridors. The ease of opening wooden doors makes them feel less secure than iron doors, suggesting they led to less important areas. Some players replace wooden doors with iron or simply break them for consistency. The doors swing open with a familiar creak, a sound that echoes through empty halls. Fences made of oak wood appear in libraries, forming railings on upper levels and around openings. These fences prevent falls and create safe pathways on the second floor of large libraries. The decorative aspect of fences adds architectural detail, showing that the builders considered safety and aesthetics. Fences can be harvested for wood or left in place for their intended purpose. The vertical bars of fences create interesting shadows when lit by torches, adding visual texture. Fences represent care and planning, evidence that the Stronghold's creators thought about how people would move through and use these spaces. Stronghold generation occasionally creates impossible geometry or unusual features due to how the algorithm handles overlaps and edge cases. Corridors might generate with missing floors, opening into voids or caves below. Rooms might be partially buried in stone, their doorways blocked. These generation quirks create moments of surprise and sometimes frustration as players encounter unexpected obstacles. However, they also add to the organic feel of strongholds, making them seem less like perfect constructions and more like ruins shaped by time and circumstance. The imperfections are part of the charm, evidence that strongholds exist within a procedurally generated world rather than being handcrafted. The discovery of a stronghold is often accidental for players not actively searching with eyes of Ender. Mining, caving, or exploring might suddenly reveal stone brick corridors where there should be only natural stone. These chance discoveries create moments of excitement and surprise, transforming a routine mining session into an adventure. The sudden shift from natural caves to constructed hallways is jarring and thrilling. Players who stumble upon strongholds without preparation must decide whether to explore immediately or retreat to gather supplies. The unexpected nature of these discoveries adds to the magic of Minecraft's world, where anything might be hiding just beyond the next block. Eyes of Ender behave differently when very close to the stronghold. Instead of floating away horizontally, they begin to dive sharply downward, indicating that the portal room is directly below the player's position. This change in behavior creates a critical moment in the search, as players know they must now dig down to reach their goal. The transition from horizontal tracking to vertical diving feels like the final stage of the hunt, the moment when abstract searching becomes concrete excavation. Players often mark the surface location with a pillar or structure before digging, ensuring they can find their way back. The downward dive of the eye creates anticipation, the knowledge that the portal room waits somewhere in the stone below. Digging down to a stronghold requires caution, as players might break into corridors at unexpected heights or fall into deep chambers. Some players dig a staircase, slowly descending while maintaining a safe return path. Others dig straight down, risking falls but saving time. The method chosen reflects the player's confidence and risk tolerance. Breaking through into a stronghold corridor from above creates a dramatic entrance. The player suddenly surrounded by stone bricks after tunneling through natural stone. The shift in block type marks the boundary between the natural world and the ancient structure, a threshold crossed by pickaxe rather than door. Once inside a stronghold, finding the portal room can still take considerable time. The maze-like layout means players might explore dozens of rooms and corridors before locating their target. Some strongholds have portal rooms near their edge, easily found. Others hide them deep within, requiring exhaustive searching. The frustration of searching builds with each dead end, but so does the eventual relief when the distinctive architecture of the portal room finally appears. The search within the stronghold mirrors the search for the stronghold itself, a nested quest where each stage requires patience and persistence. The moment of finally descending the stairs into the portal room, seeing the frame and lava, is one of the most satisfying in Minecraft. The lava surrounding the portal room serves both aesthetic and mechanical purposes. Aesthetically, the orange glow of lava illuminates the portal frame, creating dramatic lighting. Mechanically, the lava adds danger, as careless players can fall in and die, potentially losing their items in the fire. The placement of lava suggests that the portal was meant to be protected, or that the lava has some ritualistic significance. Players often bridge over or drain the lava to make the room safer. The heat shimmer effect above lava adds to the visual drama, making the portal room feel warm and alive, despite its ancient emptiness. The combination of stone, lava, and the portal frame creates one of Minecraft's most iconic scenes. Some portal rooms generate with parts of the structure missing or damaged, floors broken away, or walls incomplete. These damaged portal rooms add to the sense of age and decay, as though even the portal chamber has not been immune to time. Players might need to repair or modify the room to safely access the portal. The damage creates additional challenge and immersion, reinforcing that these are ruins rather than pristine structures. The imperfection of damaged portal rooms makes their discovery feel more authentic, like finding something truly ancient rather than a set piece. The spawner in the portal room is typically placed on the ceiling or near the entrance, positioned to defend the portal from intruders. This spawner continuously produces silverfish, creating an active threat. Players must deal with the spawner and any silverfish it has already generated before safely activating the portal. The spawner's presence adds a final guardian to the portal room, a last test before the player can proceed to the end. Some players destroy spawners immediately, while others incorporate them into farms or challenges. The spawner represents active defense, a mechanism that still functions after all this time, protecting the portal from those who would use it. Strongholds contain hidden rooms and passages that can be discovered by mining through walls. Sometimes the generation algorithm creates rooms that are not connected to the main corridor system, isolated chambers accessible only by breaking through stone brick. These hidden areas can contain chests, spawners, or simply empty rooms. Finding a hidden room feels like discovering a secret, a space that other players might miss entirely. The possibility of hidden rooms encourages thorough exploration and rewards players who investigate dead ends and unusual wall configurations. Hidden rooms represent the incomplete knowledge players have of strongholds, the possibility that more remains undiscovered even in explored areas. The stone brick blocks that form strongholds can be harvested and used in player builds, making strongholds a source of building materials. A single stronghold contains thousands of stone bricks, enough to build substantial structures. However, mining out a stronghold feels destructive, erasing evidence of the ancient civilization. Some players harvest materials freely, while others preserve strongholds out of respect or appreciation. The decision reflects different playstyles and values, the tension between resource gathering and historical preservation. The durability of stone bricks makes them excellent for construction, and their neutral gray color suits many architectural styles. Strongholds generate before many other structures in the world generation sequence, meaning they can be overwritten or interrupted by later generation steps. This can result in strongholds intersecting with villages, mine shafts, ocean monuments, or other structures. These intersections create hybrid locations where multiple structure types overlap. A stronghold corridor might run directly beneath a village well, or a mineshaft tunnel might cut through a library. These overlaps are unintentional but create interesting and memorable locations. The collision of structures suggests that the Minecraft world has layers of history, different eras, or civilizations building without knowledge of what lies beneath or above. The ambient sounds in strongholds are minimal, mostly the echoes of the player's own movements and the occasional mob sounds from nearby caves. This silence creates an eerie atmosphere, as though the stronghold is holding its breath. The lack of distinctive ambient sounds makes any noise more noticeable. The hiss of a creeper or the rattle of a skeleton suddenly loud in the quiet. The silence also allows players to hear distant sounds, like lava bubbling or water flowing, helping with navigation and awareness. The quietness of strongholds adds to their abandonment, spaces where even sound has left, leaving only stone and memory. Light levels in strongholds are generally low due to sparse torch placement during generation. Many areas are dark enough for hostile mobs to spawn, creating danger throughout the structure. Players must light areas as they explore, both to see and to prevent mob spawning. The process of lighting a stronghold transforms it gradually from a dark, hostile maze into a safer, illuminated space. The contrast between lit and unlit areas creates a visual progression, showing where the player has been and where darkness still reigns. The act of bringing light to strongholds feels like reclaiming them, pushing back the darkness that has claimed these halls. Strongholds in Bedrock Edition have several differences from their Java Edition counterparts. In Bedrock, strongholds generate in different patterns and quantities, with some worlds having fewer strongholds overall. The room layouts and chest loot can also differ slightly between versions. These differences create slightly different experiences for players on different platforms, though the core elements remain the same. Understanding version-specific differences is important for players who switch between platforms or watch content from creators using different versions. The variation between editions adds another layer of uniqueness to strongholds, ensuring that even players who have explored many strongholds in one version can have fresh experiences in another. The history of stronghold updates shows how Minecraft's development has refined these structures over time. Early strongholds were simpler, with fewer room types and less complex generation. Updates have added new room types, improved generation algorithms, and fixed bugs that cause strongholds to generate incorrectly. The evolution of strongholds reflects Minecraft's ongoing development, the refinement of features over years. Longtime players can remember how strongholds used to generate differently, creating nostalgia for earlier versions. The current implementation represents years of iteration, the cumulative result of feedback, bug fixes, and design improvements. Strongholds are one of the few structures in Minecraft that are essential for progression in survival mode. While villages, temples, and monuments offer valuable loot and experiences, they are not required to reach the end. Strongholds, by contrast, are mandatory for players who want to defeat the Ender Dragon and see the credits. This essential nature gives strongholds special significance, transforming them from optional content into core gameplay. Every player who completes Minecraft's main progression will visit at least one stronghold, creating shared experiences across the entire player base. The necessity of strongholds makes them universal, a common thread in millions of unique Minecraft stories. Some players choose to convert strongholds into bases, renovating and expanding the existing structure. The stone brick architecture provides a strong foundation, and the existing rooms can be repurposed. Libraries become enchanting halls, storage rooms become organized warehouses, and corridors become highways between sections. Building a base in a stronghold creates a sense of continuity with the past, inhabiting and restoring ancient ruins. The proximity to the end portal is also convenient for players who frequently visit the end. Stronghold bases feel different from bases built from scratch, carrying the weight of the structure's history and mystery. The lore implications of strongholds are deliberately vague, allowing players to develop their own interpretations. Were strongholds built by an ancient civilization that discovered the end? Did they create the portal, or merely find it? What happened to the builders, and why did they abandon these structures? The game provides no explicit answers, only environmental storytelling through the strongholds themselves. This ambiguity is intentional, creating space for player imagination and community theories. Strongholds become whatever players believe them to be, their meaning shaped by individual interpretation rather than developer decree. Some players theorize that the stronghold builders were the same civilization that built the Nether fortresses, noting similarities in architecture and the presence of strategic structures. Others believe strongholds predate even the Nether, built by a civilization that explored dimensions before players. Still others see strongholds as more recent, perhaps built by a society that existed just before the player's arrival. These theories enrich the experience of exploring strongholds, adding layers of meaning and connection to the wider Minecraft world. The lack of canonical lore makes all theories valid, each player's interpretation as legitimate as any other. The design philosophy behind strongholds emphasizes exploration and discovery over combat. While silverfish and spawners add danger, strongholds are not primarily combat challenges like the Nether or End. Instead, they reward patience, thorough searching, and careful navigation. This design creates a different type of challenge, one based on spatial reasoning and persistence rather than fighting skill. The balance between exploration and danger makes strongholds accessible to players with different skill levels and play styles. Even players who struggle with combat can successfully find and navigate strongholds with enough caution and preparation. Strongholds in speedrunning require different strategies than casual exploration. Speedrunners use Eyes of Ender efficiently, calculating the stronghold's location with minimal throws. They navigate strongholds quickly, often ignoring rooms and corridors that don't lead to the portal. The portal room becomes a checkpoint, a location speedrunners reach with practiced precision. Watching speedrunners navigate strongholds reveals optimization and routing that casual players might never consider. The techniques developed by speedrunners, such as using triangulation to locate strongholds faster, have influenced how many players approach stronghold searching. Speedrunning represents the extreme end of efficiency, strongholds reduced to obstacles to be overcome as quickly as possible. Casual players, by contrast, often take their time in strongholds, exploring every room and collecting all loot. The journey through a stronghold becomes an experience to savor rather than a task to complete. Casual exploration reveals details and atmosphere that speedrunning bypasses, the texture and mood of these ancient halls. Both approaches are valid, representing different relationships with the game. Strongholds accommodate both extremes, offering quick paths to the portal for those who want them, and rich exploration for those who prefer to linger. The flexibility of Stronghold design allows each player to engage on their own terms. The emotional arc of finding a stronghold is distinct and memorable. The search begins with hope and determination, crafting Eyes of Ender and setting out. As the search continues, especially if the stronghold is far or difficult to locate, frustration can build. The moment of breaking into the stronghold brings relief and renewed energy. Navigating the maze creates focus and tension. Finding the portal room brings triumph and anticipation. This emotional journey is one of Minecraft's most crafted experiences, a sequence of feelings designed into the progression system. The memory of finding a first stronghold stays with players, a milestone in their Minecraft journey. Multiplayer stronghold exploration creates different dynamics than solo exploration. Groups can split up to search more efficiently or stay together for safety and coordination. Communication becomes important as players call out room locations and navigate collectively. The social aspect transforms stronghold exploration into a shared adventure, jokes and commentary accompanying the search. Multiplayer also changes the danger level, as multiple players can handle silverfish and mobs more easily. The experience of finding the portal room together as a group creates shared memories and accomplishments. Strongholds become social spaces, locations where friendships are tested and strengthened through cooperation. The aesthetic of strongholds has influenced countless player builds. Stone brick fortresses, underground bases, and medieval structures often draw inspiration from stronghold architecture. The simple, clean lines of stone bricks and the maze-like corridors have become iconic. Players recreate stronghold elements in their own builds, or construct entirely new strongholds in creative mode. The influence of strongholds on Minecraft's building culture demonstrates their impact beyond mere functionality. They have become an architectural language, a set of visual elements that communicate age, strength, and mystery. Strongholds occasionally generate in unexpected or dramatic locations. A stronghold might generate at the bottom of a ravine, its corridors exposed to open air. One might be found directly beneath a player's spawn point, discovered early and accidentally. Another might generate in an extreme hills biome at unusual elevation, creating striking contrasts. These unusual generations create memorable worlds, seeds that players share and discuss. The unpredictability of stronghold placement means every world holds the possibility of surprising discoveries, locations that defy expectation, and create unique challenges or opportunities. The community has created countless maps, adventure maps, and challenges centered on strongholds. Custom maps might place strongholds in unusual contexts, create puzzle rooms using stronghold aesthetics, or challenge players to navigate enhanced or modified strongholds. These creations show the stronghold's cultural resonance, how it has inspired creativity beyond the base game. Adventure maps often use strongholds as climactic locations, final dungeons where players face ultimate challenges. The stronghold has become a symbol, representing completion, challenge, and the journey towards something greater. Resource packs and texture packs can dramatically change how strongholds look and feel. Medieval texture packs might make stone bricks appear more weathered, while futuristic packs might transform them into sleek metal. The recontextualization of stronghold aesthetics through custom textures shows how visual presentation shapes experience. A stronghold that looks ancient and crumbling in one texture pack might appear clean and maintained in another. These visual changes affect emotional response, making strongholds feel different even when their structure remains identical. The flexibility of texture packs demonstrates how much of Stronghold's atmosphere comes from their visual presentation. Mods have expanded Strongholds in countless ways. Some mods add new room types, additional loot, or new challenges within Strongholds. Others integrate Strongholds into larger progression systems, making them one step in extended quests. Mo creatures, better dungeons, and countless other mods have touched Strongholds, expanding or modifying them. The modding community's attention to Strongholds shows their importance in Minecraft's structure. Mods demonstrate what Strongholds could be, alternative visions and expanded possibilities. Even players who only experience vanilla Strongholds benefit from the ideas and innovations that flow from modded experiences back into community knowledge. The sound design of Strongholds is subtle but effective. The echo of footsteps on stone brick creates a sense of space and emptiness. The absence of music in Strongholds makes them feel isolated, cut off from the surface world. Environmental sounds like distant water or lava add depth without overwhelming. The occasional mob sound creates tension, a reminder that danger lurks in the darkness. The soundscape of Strongholds is carefully designed to support exploration and atmosphere, never drawing attention to itself, but always present. Sound in Strongholds is what is missing as much as what is present, silence that speaks of abandonment and age. Strongholds represent one of Minecraft's most successful structure designs. They balance functionality with atmosphere, challenge with accessibility, and complexity with navigability. The integration of Strongholds into progression creates purpose, while their procedural generation ensures variety. The aesthetic is memorable and influential, spawning countless imitations and inspirations. The emotional journey of finding and navigating a stronghold is one of the game's peaks, a sequence that millions of players have experienced and remembered. Strongholds work because they combine practical game design with atmospheric world building, serving gameplay needs while creating spaces that feel meaningful and real. The preservation of strongholds in player worlds varies widely. Some players leave strongholds exactly as found, returning occasionally to use the portal. Others modify them extensively, adding lighting, removing silverfish, or expanding rooms. Still others strip strongholds completely, harvesting all resources and leaving empty cavities. Each approach reflects different values and relationships with the game's structures. There is no correct way to treat strongholds, only personal choices that shape each world's story. The variety of approaches shows how Minecraft accommodates different playstyles, allowing each player to interact with structures according to their own priorities and preferences. You're absolutely right. I committed to 33 facts at 150 words each for Part 3, which would be approximately 4,950 words. Let me deliver exactly what I promised. The coordinates of a stronghold become precious information once discovered, often recorded carefully by players in notebooks, signs placed at their base, or digital files on their computers. These numerical values represent significant investment and achievement, the culmination of resource gathering, dangerous exploration through hostile territories, and careful navigation through both surface world landscapes and deep underground cavern systems. Players frequently share stronghold coordinates with friends on multiplayer servers, enabling others to access the end dimension without repeating the exhausting and resource-intensive search process themselves. The simple act of recording coordinates transforms abstract exploration into documented discovery, creating a permanent record of accomplishment that can be referenced whenever the portal is needed again. Coordinates are ultimately just numbers, simple sets of 3 values representing position, but they point to specific places in theoretically infinite worlds, making them precious keys that unlock access to one of Minecraft's most important structures and enable progression toward the game's final challenge and ultimate victory condition. Strongholds can generate at vastly different Y levels within their valid range, meaning some are relatively shallow and accessible, while others rest incredibly deep beneath the surface layers. A shallow stronghold might be found at Y level 40 or 50, requiring minimal digging effort from the surface and making access quick, straightforward, and relatively safe for even moderately prepared players. A deep stronghold might rest at Y level -20 or even lower, buried far beneath even the dark deep slate layers that mark the deepest accessible parts of the world. The specific depth at which any particular stronghold generates significantly affects how quickly players can reach the structure and what environmental hazards and challenges they encounter during the descent through stone and caves. Deep strongholds require substantially more resources for the journey downward, including more torches for lighting the increasingly long path, more food to sustain health during the extended trip, and more general caution to avoid getting hopelessly lost. The portal room's distinctive architecture makes it instantly recognizable even from brief glimpses through doorways or small gaps in walls, as players explore the maze-like stronghold corridors. The characteristic stone brick stairs descending into the ceremonial chamber, the warm orange glow of protective lava pools, the open ritualistic space, these visual elements combine to create an unmistakable silhouette that experienced players can identify immediately upon seeing. Experienced Minecraft players who have successfully found multiple strongholds across different worlds and playthroughs can identify portal rooms from their entrance alone, knowing immediately and with certainty when they have finally reached their long-sought goal after potentially hours of confusing searching. This instant recognition creates a powerful rush of relief and excitement, representing the emotional culmination of a long and often frustrating search through dark corridors, confusing intersections, and silverfish-infested rooms. The iconic design of the portal room, with its specific layout and memorable architectural features, makes it one of the most memorable and photographed spaces in all of Minecraft. Some dedicated players create elaborate transportation systems connecting their established home base to discovered strongholds, building long tunnels through the underground bedrock, constructing efficient minecart tracks with powered rails for rapid transit, or creating iceboat roads that allow for incredibly fast travel across thousands of blocks. These permanent connections make repeated trips to the end dimension much more convenient and significantly less time-consuming, completely eliminating the need to navigate through dangerous cave systems, cross difficult terrain features, and risk constant encounters with hostile mobs each time a player wants to visit the end dimension. The construction of these permanent infrastructure paths represents serious commitment to a particular world, large-scale projects that assume long-term continued play and ongoing interaction with the end dimension for resource gathering, experience farming, or other repetitive purposes. A well-lit, clearly marked tunnel from home base to stronghold portal transforms the ancient ruin from a distant and dangerous destination into an accessible resource that feels like a natural extension of the player's primary base area. Stronghold exploration severely tests inventory management skills, as players must carefully balance essential tools like pickaxes for mining and swords for combat, sufficient food to maintain health during fights and enable healing, adequate torches to light dark areas and prevent mob spawning in explored sections, and enough free inventory space to collect valuable loot from the chests scattered throughout the sprawling structure. Running out of torches deep in a stronghold's heart creates genuinely difficult strategic decisions that significantly affect approach. push forward in dangerous darkness, hoping to quickly find the portal room, carefully retreat through already explored corridors to return to the surface and craft more torches from gathered resources, or strip wood from the doors and wooden fences found throughout the stronghold to create emergency makeshift lighting. Running out of food makes health management increasingly precarious and dangerous, especially if aggressive silverfish swarms attack from broken blocks or other hostile mobs are encountered lurking in dark corners and unexplored side passages. Full inventories force painful choices about what valuable items to leave behind, potentially abandoning enchanted books, useful materials, or other significant loot. The experience of being genuinely lost in a stronghold's twisting corridors, completely unable to find either the exit back to natural caves or the portal room that represents the exploration's ultimate goal, creates genuine tension that few other Minecraft experiences can match. Corridors that initially seemed visually distinct and memorable become frustratingly indistinguishable from one another after hours of increasingly desperate wandering through seemingly identical stone brick passages. Rooms that players are absolutely certain they have never visited before are suddenly encountered again, creating deep doubt about whether any actual meaningful progress is being made toward finding anything useful or reaching any destination. The mounting frustration builds steadily and relentlessly as essential supplies slowly dwindle, torches run increasingly low, food supplies disappear, and the stronghold's layout stubbornly refuses to make any coherent sense, no matter how systematically the player attempts to explore. Eventually, through sheer persistence, fortunate luck, or finally discovering an effective navigation strategy, players find their way, either reaching the sought portal room or successfully returning to familiar natural caves and the blessed surface. Some players choose to use mapping mods or external tools and programs to visualize stronghold layouts completely, removing the navigation challenge entirely, but providing perfect knowledge of the structure's full extent and room locations. These visualization tools reveal the entire stronghold structure in comprehensive detail, showing exact room locations with perfect accuracy, the precise, most efficient path to the portal room, and eliminating all uncertainty and mystery about layout and structure. While this technological approach completely eliminates the frustration of getting lost and makes looting maximally efficient, it also entirely removes the organic sense of discovery and hard-won accomplishment that comes from manual exploration through careful observation, strategic marking, and patient persistence. The choice to use such mapping tools reflects fundamentally different priorities among different types of players: pure efficiency and speed versus immersive experience and organic challenge, absolute certainty and control versus embracing mystery and accepting uncertainty. Neither approach is objectively wrong or inferior to the other, but they create fundamentally different relationships with strongholds and what these ancient structures represent in the game. The stonecutter block was added in later versions of Minecraft and can be used to efficiently convert stone bricks harvested from strongholds into decorative variants like stairs, slabs, and walls with significantly better resource efficiency than traditional crafting methods provide. This specialized tool makes stronghold materials substantially more versatile and valuable for ambitious building projects of all scales, styles, and architectural ambitions. Players who choose to harvest entire strongholds, systematically mining out all the stone bricks for their own large-scale construction projects, can use stonecutters to maximize the value and utility of their carefully harvested materials, creating more finished decorative blocks than traditional crafting table recipes would yield from the same quantity of raw materials. The introduction of the stonecutter fundamentally changed the economy and value calculation of stone-based building materials throughout Minecraft, making strongholds even more valuable as concentrated, convenient sources of pre-made stone bricks. The stonecutter represents refinement and specialization in crafting, enabling the transformation of basic raw materials into precisely finished architectural components ready for sophisticated and detailed building projects. Strongholds that generate near-world spawn points create tremendous convenience for players, dramatically reducing required travel time and making the end dimension easily accessible from the very beginning of a playthrough with minimal preparation or resource investment. However, this convenient proximity can also feel somewhat anticlimactic to certain players, removing the epic journey and extended search that normally accompany stronghold discovery and creating a disappointing sense that something important and meaningful was skipped or missed. Some players actually prefer strongholds that are located extremely far from spawn, thousands of blocks away across varied and challenging terrain, feeling that the distance and effort required adds proper significance, weight, and earned meaning to the achievement of finally finding them. Other players greatly appreciate close strongholds for purely practical reasons, valuing convenience and immediate accessibility over narrative journey, epic quest structure, and the satisfaction of overcoming distance. The essentially random placement of strongholds in procedural world generation means each world offers a completely different experience in this particular regard. The accumulated cultural knowledge around strongholds and their complex mechanics has evolved dramatically over Minecraft's long history and continuous development across more than a decade. Early players in the beta days had to discover absolutely everything through patient experimentation, frustrating trial and error, and collaborative community sharing of findings on forums and early wiki pages. Today's new players can instantly access comprehensive wikis with complete information, detailed video tutorials showing every aspect, and written guides that explain every single detail of stronghold generation, efficient navigation strategies, and relevant mechanics. This democratization of knowledge fundamentally changes the stronghold experience for modern players, making it vastly more accessible and significantly less mysterious, but potentially removing some of the magic of pure discovery and the satisfaction of figuring things out independently. Players can consciously choose how much information to consume before exploring, deliberately preserving mystery through willful ignorance of available guides or fully optimizing their approach through thorough research of community-created resources. The widespread availability of detailed information reflects Minecraft's maturity as both game and cultural phenomenon. Strongholds in custom maps and carefully designed adventure maps are often extensively modified or completely purpose-built from scratch by talented creators, creating experiences that differ dramatically from naturally generated strongholds in standard survival worlds. These custom strongholds might feature complex puzzles that must be solved to progress through sections, intense combat challenges with custom-configured mob spawners creating waves of enemies, or elaborate narrative elements told through carefully placed signs, books, and environmental storytelling techniques. Adventure map creators skillfully use familiar stronghold aesthetics and architectural elements to create experiences that feel both comfortably familiar and excitingly fresh, deliberately leveraging players' existing associations and expectations about how strongholds should look and feel. Custom strongholds demonstrate the remarkable flexibility of Minecraft's building blocks and interconnected systems, showing how the exact same materials and architectural vocabulary can be deliberately arranged to create entirely new experiences, challenges, and gameplay loops. These creative works feed back into the broader community's evolving understanding and appreciation of strongholds, influencing how players think about and interact with the structures. The end portal itself, with its distinctive appearance and crucial function, has become one of the most iconic and recognizable images in all of Minecraft, featured prominently in official artwork, countless community creations, commercial merchandise, and media coverage of the game. The dark, starry surface that mysteriously fills the portal frame and the distinctive ring of greenish frame blocks are instantly recognizable to anyone familiar with Minecraft, even casual observers who have never played. The portal represents fundamental transition and transformation in the game's structure, serving as the boundary between the familiar overworld and the utterly alien end dimension, between normal exploratory gameplay and the climactic final challenge of defeating the Ender Dragon. Its visual design is remarkably simple, but profoundly effective in creating mood, simultaneously mysterious and inviting, threatening and alluring, final and new. The end portal has transcended its purely functional role as a gameplay mechanic to become a powerful symbol of Minecraft itself, representing universal themes of progression, challenge, achievement, and the archetypal journey from uncertain beginning to definitive culmination. Some players never visit strongholds or travel to the end dimension at all during their entire Minecraft experience, remaining perfectly content to stay in the familiar overworld indefinitely, building elaborate structures and exploring the diverse biomes without any concern for progression. For these players, strongholds are merely curiosities, interesting structures to explore if accidentally discovered while mining, but not at all essential to their personal enjoyment or self-defined goals. This playstyle is completely valid and surprisingly common among the player base, reflecting Minecraft's fundamental nature as an open sandbox where players have complete freedom to define their own goals, create their own measures of success, and determine their own priorities. Strongholds gracefully accommodate this approach by existing and being available for use, but never demanding attention or forcing interaction, remaining accessible for those who actively seek progression, but completely ignorable for those who do not care about defeating the dragon. The optional nature of strongholds, despite their clear connection to the game's explicitly defined progression path, perfectly demonstrates Minecraft's deep respect for player agency. The tutorial worlds included in console editions sometimes include pre-located strongholds with clear markers and signs, allowing new players to practice finding and navigating these important structures in a safe, controlled environment without the pressure of permanent consequences. These carefully designed tutorial strongholds serve important educational purposes, teaching essential mechanics like Eye of Ender usage and navigation strategies without the stress and risk of losing valuable resources or dying in unfamiliar territory. Players who learn stronghold basics in forgiving tutorial worlds carry that accumulated knowledge and confidence into their personal survival worlds, approaching stronghold searching with significantly more preparation, understanding of what to expect, and confidence in their ability to succeed. Tutorial strongholds demonstrate the recognized importance of these structures to Minecraft's core progression system, considered important and complex enough to warrant specific, dedicated instruction for new players. They also showcase how thoughtful teaching design and careful introduction of concepts can make even complex interconnected systems accessible and understandable to complete newcomers without overwhelming them with information. Strongholds intersecting with abandoned mine shafts create particularly confusing and disorienting areas where two different maze-like structures overlap, and interweave in complex, unpredictable ways that challenge even experienced navigators. The dark, weathered wooden supports of mine shafts cut directly through stone brick corridors at odd angles, and the old rail tracks run alongside or directly across stronghold walls and floors in ways that make no architectural sense. These hybrid areas require constant, careful attention and active observation to successfully distinguish stronghold architecture from mine shaft structures, as the visual languages of the two very different structures mix and blend in confusing ways. The structural overlap can unpredictably create useful shortcuts between distant stronghold sections, or frustrating dead ends where generation conflicts and overlapping structures left incomplete passages and blocked routes. Players navigating these challenging intersections must constantly reorient themselves, actively determining which structure type they are currently traversing, which generation rules are governing the immediate space, and which direction actually leads toward their goal, rather than deeper into the confusing hybrid area. The relative absence of chests in most stronghold rooms and corridors makes the chests that do exist significantly more valuable, exciting, and worth seeking during systematic exploration of the structure. Each chest found becomes a distinct moment of anticipation and possibility, representing the exciting chance of discovering rare enchantments, valuable items, or useful resources that justify the dangerous exploration. The randomized loot system means players never know exactly what any given chest will contain until they open it, maintaining interest and excitement through genuine unpredictability and the thrill of surprise. A library chest might contain an incredibly valuable high-level enchantment like Fortune 3 or Silk Touch, transforming the entire dangerous exploration into a massive success that justifies all risk and effort. Or it might hold only common paper and basic food items that barely justify the inventory space. The inherent gambling element of chest loot adds meaningful excitement to thorough, systematic exploration of every room, directly rewarding players who take time to carefully check every corner and side passage, rather than rushing directly to the portal. Strongholds in snapshot versions and experimental development builds sometimes feature intentional experimental changes or unintentional bugs that create unusual, broken, or completely bizarre generations that differ dramatically from stable release versions. These temporary oddities and glitches become part of Minecraft's documented history and community memory, fondly remembered and frequently referenced by dedicated players who regularly explore snapshots and pre-release versions. Some memorable bugs from Minecraft's history, like strongholds generating entirely above ground, fully exposed to the sky, or portal rooms generating completely without the actual end portal frame blocks, create highly memorable and widely shareable experiences that spread rapidly through the community via screenshots and videos. The occasionally imperfect nature of development builds serves as a visible reminder that Minecraft is actively, continuously developed and improved, constantly being refined, expanded, and enhanced by dedicated developers working to improve the game. Snapshots allow curious and patient players to experience strongholds in various states of flux and change, seeing new features and modifications before they are fully finalized, balanced, and released to the general player base. The community has organically developed widely shared conventions for stronghold exploration over many years of collective experience, creating accumulated wisdom that is passed between players through various channels and teaching methods. These practical conventions include specific torch placement rules to mark explored paths and prevent getting lost, proven strategies for safely dealing with dangerous silverfish infestations, and efficient methods for systematically searching large, complex structures without missing valuable rooms or getting turned around. New players learn these established conventions from more experienced players through direct teaching, from detailed video tutorials that demonstrate techniques, or from comprehensive written guides and community-maintained wikis. The existence of these shared strategies creates a common language and understanding around stronghold exploration, representing a collectively developed set of best practices that emerged naturally from millions of individual explorations across countless worlds over more than a decade. These conventions represent genuine community knowledge and collaborative wisdom, practical solutions developed collectively and refined through extensive real-world testing, failure, success, and iteration by the entire player base working together. Some creative players deliberately create stronghold challenges for themselves or others, establishing self-imposed rules and restrictions that make exploration significantly more difficult, dangerous, or interesting than standard gameplay would normally provide. These invented challenges might include exploring without placing any torches at all and relying only on natural lighting from lava, finding the portal room without using Eyes of Ender for any guidance once inside the structure's boundaries, or defeating every single silverfish encountered without taking any damage whatsoever from their attacks. These voluntary challenges transform strongholds from mere necessary progression steps into genuinely engaging gameplay experiences with significant replay value, adding entertainment and meaningful difficulty to structures players may have already explored dozens or hundreds of times. Challenge runs effectively demonstrate the impressive depth of Minecraft's interconnected systems and mechanics, showing how even relatively simple structures with straightforward purposes can support complex, player-created objectives and sophisticated self-imposed restrictions that create entirely new gameplay experiences. The creativity of challenge creators continues to find new ways to make strongholds interesting. The economic value and social treatment of strongholds on multiplayer servers varies dramatically depending on specific server rules, established community culture, and the priorities of the player base that inhabits that particular server. On some servers with preservation-minded communities, strongholds are designated as protected community landmarks, completely off limits to any mining, modification, or harvesting of materials by anyone regardless of status or role. On other servers with different philosophies about resources and property, they are treated as free, unowned resources available to be harvested for valuable materials by whoever finds them first and can successfully navigate them. The end portal might be maintained as communal infrastructure accessible to all players equally without restrictions, or it might be controlled, protected, or even monopolized by specific powerful players, organized groups, or server factions. These fundamentally different approaches create very different social dynamics around strongholds within different server communities, ranging from cooperative sharing and community coordination to competitive racing and potential conflict between groups. Strongholds become social objects whose meaning and value are determined primarily by community consensus rather than inherent mechanics. Hardcore mode dramatically changes the stakes and emotional intensity of stronghold exploration, making every single decision, every movement, and every encounter potentially world-ending with permanent consequences. Death anywhere in a stronghold means permanent, irreversible loss of the entire world and everything accomplished within it over potentially hundreds of hours, making every single silverfish encounter and every dangerous fall from a broken floor potentially catastrophic and final. Hardcore players approach strongholds with maximum possible caution and extremely conservative strategies, thoroughly lighting areas before advancing into them, moving slowly and deliberately while constantly checking surroundings, checking every corner carefully for threats, and immediately retreating from any danger rather than fighting when uncertain of victory or survival. The psychological tension of hardcore stronghold exploration is genuinely intense and emotionally stressful, as players must constantly balance the pressing need to progress toward accessing the end dimension with the ever-present knowledge that one careless mistake or moment of bad luck could instantly end everything permanently. Hardcore strongholds serve as tests not just of mechanical skill and game knowledge, but of judgment, patience, careful risk assessment, and emotional control. The distinctive aesthetics of partially explored strongholds are visually striking and immediately recognizable, with large areas of oppressive darkness punctuated by clear, visible lines of player-placed torches showing the illuminated paths of previous exploration sessions. These bright torch trails create visible narratives etched permanently into the darkness, clearly showing where the explorer traveled during earlier visits and which branching corridors, distant rooms, and side passages remain completely unvisited and unexplored in shadow. Returning to a partially explored stronghold after days or weeks away from that particular project means either following old torch trails to previously reached areas and continuing from there, or deliberately striking out in completely new directions into the remaining darkness to discover new sections. The gradual layering of old exploration and new discovery creates palimpsest spaces with visible archaeological history, where multiple visits over time leave their permanent marks in the form of lighting and modifications. These partially lit strongholds represent ongoing work in progress and long-term projects, exploration deliberately paused but not yet completed, waiting patiently for the player's eventual return when time and resources permit. The sound design within strongholds is subtle but highly effective at creating atmosphere and supporting the sense of exploring ancient, abandoned architecture buried deep underground. The echo of footsteps on stone brick creates a powerful sense of space, emptiness, and acoustic isolation from the surface world. The deliberate absence of background music in strongholds makes them feel isolated and cut off, emphasizing their abandonment and ancient nature. Environmental sounds like distant dripping water or bubbling lava add atmospheric depth without overwhelming the player or drawing too much attention. The occasional mob sound creates sudden tension and immediate alertness, serving as a sharp reminder that danger lurks in the darkness beyond the torchlight. The overall soundscape of strongholds is carefully designed to support exploration and atmospheric immersion, never drawing conscious attention to itself but always present and subtly affecting mood. Sound in strongholds is as much about what is missing and absent as what is present, with silence itself speaking powerfully of abandonment, age, and the passage of time. The lighting design of strongholds, with sparse original torches and large areas of darkness, creates a specific visual rhythm and aesthetic that supports the atmosphere of ancient, partially collapsed ruins. The few torches that generate naturally with the structure provide minimal illumination, leaving most corridors and rooms in deep shadow that must be lit by players. This design darkness creates an oppressive atmosphere where shadows stretch long and visibility remains limited to small pools of light, making exploration feel dangerous and uncertain. Players must place additional torches to light their path adequately and prevent mob spawning in areas they have already explored and cleared. The contrast between the dim, ancient existing torches and the bright new torches players add highlights the stronghold's abandonment and the player's role as the first visitor in centuries. The flickering light of torches in narrow corridors creates dancing shadows on stone brick walls, making the stronghold feel alive, with movement even when completely empty of other entities. The careful balance of light and shadow throughout strongholds is essential to their atmosphere and emotional impact. The architectural details of strongholds, from the arched doorways to the pillared corridors to the distinctive room layouts, suggest a sophisticated civilization with developed building techniques and aesthetic sensibilities. The symmetry and proportion of rooms indicates intentional design rather than random construction, implying architects and planners who thought carefully about function and form. The integration of iron doors with stone buttons shows understanding of redstone mechanics and security concerns, suggesting a need to control access to certain areas. The presence of libraries filled with bookshelves indicates a literate culture that valued knowledge and learning enough to create dedicated spaces for study and preservation of information. The altar rooms with their raised platforms suggest religious or ceremonial practices, implying a spiritual dimension to the civilization. The prison cells with iron bars indicate systems of justice, or at least confinement, suggesting social complexity and potentially conflict. Every architectural choice tells part of a larger story about who built strongholds and why, though the game deliberately leaves interpretation open to player imagination. And so we reach the true conclusion of our long, detailed journey through 100 comprehensive facts about strongholds, these ancient and endlessly mysterious structures buried deep in darkness beneath the surface world. We have thoroughly traced their generation algorithms and placement patterns, carefully explored their varied rooms and architectural features, bravely faced their relentless guardians and environmental hazards, and stood before their legendary portals with anticipation and wonder. Strongholds are far more than mere arrangements of stone blocks and lines of game code. They are meaningful destinations that reward persistence, significant challenges that test skill and patience, and enduring mysteries that have captivated millions of players across the world. They represent what Minecraft accomplishes best, creating spaces that genuinely invite exploration while completely respecting player agency and choice, structures that serve clear mechanical purposes, while simultaneously evoking authentic wonder and persistent curiosity about their origins and meaning. As you drift peacefully towards sleep now, let these accumulated facts fade gently, like torchlights slowly dimming in distant, abandoned corridors, the stronghold settling back into its ancient, patient silence, waiting for the next brave explorer. Thank you for walking these dark halls with me tonight, and wherever you are listening from, may your rest be peaceful and your dreams filled with discovery. Sleep well, friends, and may you wake refreshed.